Welcome to the podcast, Wellness 3.0 Unlocked. What if the goal of physical therapy wasn't just to get you out of pain, but to rebuild your body so that you could perform at your highest level again? Today's guest is someone who is challenging the traditional model of rehab and redefining what recovery actually looks like. I'm joined by Matt Brown, founder of Corrective PT, a Scottsdale-based performance-driven physical therapy practice that works almost exclusively with former athletes, first responders, and other high-performing individuals who don't just want to feel better, they actually want to get back to doing what they loved at a high level. Matt has built a hybrid cash-based model that moves beyond the limitations that is often when insurance-driven care is part of the scene. It integrates regenerative medicine, strength-based rehab, and a truly individualized one-on-one approach that really empowers patients to take ownership of their bodies. In this conversation, we're going to dive into his journey of building Corrective PT, the challenges of scaling a high-touch, high-quality practice, and why moving away from insurance has actually allowed him to deliver better outcomes. We're also going to explore how he's thinking about growth through direct-to-employer partnerships and where AI and innovation may play a role in the future of performance-based healthcare. If you've ever wondered what's possible when you stop treating symptoms and start rebuilding the whole system, then this episode is for you. Welcome to the podcast, Matt. Super happy to have you here today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And that was a beautiful
Yeah.
introduction.
Well
Well
earned. You earned all of that. So really just start by telling everyone about Corrective PT, the amazing things that you're doing there, and then tell us all a little bit about your journey and what brought you to that place where you are now.
Yeah, I'd love to. So I've been in PT for 7, going on 8 years now. And before this, I was in an insurance clinic, and I did a sports residency, and so very integrated into the sports world and the high performance world. But what I was seeing, both personally and professionally, was that type of care is very restrictive as far as a subset of population of high performing individuals or chronic pain. They need more touch points and they need longer care instead of care smashed into like a 6 to 8 week protocol where you try to get as many visits in those 6 to 8 weeks and then you're kind of discharged from there because insurance kind of cuts you off. But at 6 to 8 weeks, you really can't get a lot done to change the body, right? Like they even talk about habits, right? How long it takes to change a habit. You at least need a month to even start that change. But to create adaptations in the body, you need at least 3 months to start that process. It actually takes 6 months to a year to really create adaptations. And for people with really chronic things that have been going on for that long, 6 to 8 weeks will make minor changes, but it won't change their life to be where they want to be. You can't make those kind of changes in 2 months. It just won't happen. Like if you're trying to lose weight, you can't lose, 30 pounds in 2 months. Even if you did, that's not a healthy way to do it. It's not sustainable. So my personal journey is I had chronic low back pain for 6 years, starting in my mid-20s. And I saw like 3-4 different PTs. I went to chiropractic care. I went to massage. I went to surgeons. And the surgeons told me that I needed surgery, but I knew that surgeries weren't good outcomes. In PT, I would get a little bit better, and then, I'd try to go back to higher level things, and then it just came right back. Like I was kind of always getting better and then coming back down, getting better, coming back down. And so then what I learned is I went and did it all myself. And I basically just did a year and a half long rehab program for myself. And I no longer have pain. I can do everything I want now, but it took a long time. It took a lot of experimenting. So now what I've created corrective physical therapy to do is to help people similar to my situation. Um, People that want to be able to golf, hike, run, play basketball, play with their kids, throw their kids in the pool. All these things are, they're not easy things to do, especially if you've had pain for a while and you can't be active. But those are the things we enjoy in life, is to be able to do these interactions, have this competition. So that's our focus, is helping former athletes, and first responders is a very similar dynamic. They love their jobs. They love being able to service their communities, but it's a high level job that they have to be able to do. And so with that comes a lot of, you have to really prep your body and make your body resilient enough to be able to handle those things. So that's how we kind of based this premise of our business, to treat that type of population.
So a couple things came up to me so often when I'm talking to someone, one of our guests, who takes a less than a traditional approach to whatever the issue is in healthcare. They almost always are either doing it to treat themselves or someone they know and care and love about, care about and love. So is that what really brought you into the field of PT? Was you trying to treat yourself? Is that where your interest came
No,
from?
actually, that's
Okay.
a lot of people do. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I was so I had some experiences with PT when I was younger. I played basketball high school and college. I had some knee injuries and stuff, and I broke my leg, and I did some PT. I was actually a really crappy client, though. I came one time and I didn't go back. So what led me initially, I was actually a business degree when I was going to school, and I hated it. I hated my classes. I hated what I was learning about. So I took a year off and I dove into the fields that would be applicable to what I loved, which was health, fitness, sports, and then helping people. So my options were, you could be medical doctor, like an orthopedic surgeon. I didn't want that type of lifestyle. I didn't want that type of schooling. Athletic training wasn't really in the cards for me. I didn't want to do a bunch of travel, and their hours are way different. So PT, and then like strength conditioning. PT was more, there's a lot bigger complexity to it as far as like finding what's wrong,
Mm-hmm.
which I really love that aspect of it. So I dove down that path and I did some shadowing, I did some intern work, and then I loved it. And then I got into the classes that did like biomechanics and things like that, and I absolutely loved my classes. So that's actually how I ended up in PT. It's just by happenstance that way. Everything else was just a byproduct of that.
Gotcha. Well, it's good to do what you love. And these were your words, not mine, but you said you were a crappy patient when you went to PT the first time and only went once and came back. Do you find, or did you find, I guess, before you specialized a little bit more with your current clientele, that a lot of people would not either finish their prescribed PT, or they wouldn't maintain any kind of PT when the program was done at home to continue themselves moving forward? And is it a much different mindset with your current clientele, who are people who, because of what they do for their career, the mechanics of their body is so much more important to them and maintaining that level?
It's a great question. So in the insurance world, there's a lot of non-compliancy. I find some of it's an investment problem. People are just kind of told to be there. So a lot of people are told if they want an X-ray or an MRI, or if they want to do these other types of things, they have to go and get 6 sessions of PT or whatever it is. So their buy-in isn't really there for change. They don't really even
Mm-hmm.
think it's going to change you.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that problem in the insurance world. And yes, there's a the accountability and the consistency aspect is the hardest. I think that is consistent across any type of change you're trying to implement, right? Like business is the same way. You have to be consistent and you have to adapt to things and you have to give it time in order to make changes and make positive outcomes. But you have to give it enough effort over a long period of time to make that happen. Um, so in when I've created this, what I find is the subset of population that we treat and we specialize in, their pain problem is big enough that they've been dealing with it long enough that they need something to make a change for them. And so they want to invest into it, and then we create an accountability structure with them so that they're constantly showing up for themselves so that they put in the effort to make those changes. It's also very set in stone with the expectations when we do evaluations here. Like the bread and butter of what we do is strength training to build resilience in the body part that's broken down. And so if you don't put in the work, you're not gonna make progress here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very established. If you're coming here, that's the mentality that you're going to have or that you would need to have to be successful here. So
So
we
you,
get a lot better compliancy from that.
mm-hmm.
It's not obviously it's not perfect. Nobody's perfect at doing these things, but the more they do, the better they can get, faster they can get, and their outcomes are really reliant on how much they're willing to put into it.
So you moved away from the insurance model, which I would imagine actually helps with a little more compliancy when people are a little more invested monetarily. But
Correct.
so that would make sense. But as far as like, what does that also unlock for you from a clinical perspective to not have
So
to follow guidelines?
yeah, so I mean, quite a few things. So from a business aspect, there's a lot more profit margin that can be allowed um, because the support staff that we need is way less. Because our billing is straightforward, we don't need to go and collect, and the pricing that we have allows us to do our sessions so that we have a good profit margin to scale business. But on the clinical side, there's more focus. So we have a lesser patient volume. So a full time staff member here can see a max of 32 clients in a week.
Mm-hmm.
At traditional models, you're typically looking between 12 to 20 patients a day, depending on the model and how things are.
Mm-hmm.
Most fall on average around 15 to 16 visits a day.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you're in 2 days, you're doing what we do in a whole
In a
week.
week.
So with that, right, comes a lot more time that we can invest outside of just your hour session to really dive into how we can help people.
Mm-hmm.
So building programs for them, checking up on them. We do check-in systems, so they have access to us during the week that we can modify things for them if they have some flare-ups or if they responded badly or if they're responding well, how to progress things. So it's allowed us to have a better system of more direct care so that they don't just feel like they're out of the loop. And then documentation purposes also get a little bit smoother just because it's more, we're not trying to build the case of why they're here to the insurance so that they actually reimburse. Now we can focus on outcomes and basically how to drive each of our sessions. So it's all more patient focused instead of us having to focus on if we're not going to get denied or not.
The right billing code and
Yeah,
and then
all
dealing with that,
those.
even all that sort
Yeah,
of.
all
That's
those
what he,
nuances and then if
yeah.
they deny you, then you have to go back in and change things. And so you're really just doing it as a game to play the insurance game instead of
Mhm.
focusing on what is actually important is getting the patient better.
Hmm. I definitely find that more of my podcast guests in every field of medicine are moving to more of a concierge self-pay kind of model for the exact same frustrations that you just vocalized. But what do you think has been the hardest part about building and scaling a model like this for you?
I think the hardest aspect is the scaling, um,
Hmm.
just because you're still selling time for money, and so with that, we're selling specialized care. So staffing, having so like when you first start, like the whole business was me. So the whole identity was that I'm really good at what I do.
Hmm.
How do you replicate that? I think is the hardest thing for the scaling process. At least that's what I found. Um, I know that in our industry, the cash pay solopreneur side or the cash pay concierge side is you don't see businesses that are making 10 million in revenue like some of these big insurance companies can. So if you're looking to scale big, you don't really see that. Not that it can't be done, but I'm
Hmm.
assuming that it's just harder because of logistics and how much volume you would need. And it's just not as easy to scale a specialized practice.
Hmm.
I found that a lot of solopreneurs can do really well. It's not easy, but it's easier to establish you as a brand. But to replicate that is kind of the harder part to be able to do.
Yeah, you mentioned that in our earlier conversation too, the replication and the fact that the brand is very tied to you. So does the difficulty come, and maybe it's in all these facets, in finding other physical therapists who approach the craft the same way that you do? Or is it the other stuff outside of the actual patient care, replicating that, that is the challenge? Or is it a little bit of both?
It's definitely both. Because so I don't think you'd have to create like an exact replica of me, but definitely the standards and the type of way that we treat is needs to be replicated because it needs to be similar across the board what the patient's going to experience when they come here.
Hmm.
Obviously each clinician's always going to like I don't want someone that's just like me, but the process that we do things needs to be very similar in how we talk about things and how we go about treating or referring out, like when we do that, who we send to. I think all those things need to be very similar. I
Hmm.
think a lot of it comes from changing the brand and getting me away from the brand. So it's more of the expectations that you set up with your referral network, your branding and marketing and your messaging and like establishing a brand, right? That's what like big insurance clinics do. You don't know people at the clinic, you know this clinic. So you know
Hmm.
the clinic name, you don't know the person. So that's what I think that's probably more of it from my experience and what I've learned about things. It's more of how you brand things and the messaging that comes across and getting myself away from being the brand.
Gotcha. Um, what is something that you've actually recently overcome as far as building this business that was a struggle that you're kind of on the other side of now?
Um, so staffing has been the biggest challenge because I was super busy starting about a year ago, and I brought on my first clinician then. Um, And I think that was probably the biggest learning opportunity that I've had.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot that goes into staffing. I've managed clinics before, and I've managed people, but being the leader and the one hiring and doing everything, it's a lot different. So coming up with better processes to train how we do things, and then how to set the expectations and set the guidelines and standards in a better way. I definitely lacked on my first employee,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm sure is super common, but
Very, very
it's
common.
definitely a hard lesson to learn and that
Mm-hmm.
you have to adapt from. So my PT that I have now, I created a lot more robust training program to help bring him up to speed on how we do things, but also just specializing in the types of things that we see,
Mm-hmm.
and then how to do some of the sales and marketing that isn't natural to healthcare professionals,
Mm-hmm.
especially ones that haven't done any business stuff on their own. Like I had to learn all that stuff. I didn't know shit about marketing in
Yeah.
in my whole journey. Nobody ever taught me any of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So learning that I had to train that, and that also takes time to build, and people have to learn that skill. So most of
Yeah.
it's just like leadership.
Most of any solopreneur's journey, unless you're specifically starting a company that does sales and marketing, that's not the component that you're where your strength naturally lies. But if
Yeah.
you're doing it, you got to figure some way to either lock in yourself or outsource it
Correct.
properly.
Yeah.
For sure. Absolutely. So that's some of the struggles that you are kind of currently facing and recently overcome. But let's talk about some wins. Like, what are some things that you're really excited about in the next year in your business, the next 5 years? Some directions that you see it going that make you pretty psyched.
Yeah. So this most current wins is we've had our best quarter that we've had to date.
Hmm.
That's always exciting because sometimes it feels like I'm not making progress, even though I am making progress, and like my expectations are higher than sometimes where I land.
Hmm.
But knowing that that's still a win, to be, we're still moving forward. But some exciting things are, personally, I'm building a online brand that is a me brand for chronic low back pain. So I'm building a course membership, um, specifically to help people build resilience in their backs. So that's very dear to my heart. Gone through that
Hmm.
myself. So really trying to expand on how many people I can reach with that, and how many lives I can, change to get them back to doing what they love. So I'm working on that now. That's like my big project, as well as developing some contracts with. I'm trying to do some police department, fire department contracts for injury management to reduce how much time off for workers' comp that these first responders are having to do,
Hmm.
keeping them active duty, full active duty, and then direct to employer. So these things would drastically scale my business, but we
Hmm.
could impact very large communities in a very good way, um, in a very specialized way, how we do things. So those are some super exciting things. And then just scaling this clinic, training the people under me to be really good clinicians. I love that part. I like to see them shine, and just keep that fire in them for why they got into this business in the first place.
Hmm.
My profession is, I know across healthcare it's like this, but my profession, it's, I think they said the stat was 7 years that people typically make it in PT before they're doing something else. I think I
From
read that
burnout
somewhere.
or
Yeah, burnout
frustration?
and yeah, because our profession, we have a lot of schooling, but
Mhm.
our pay rate is much less than some of these other you know schooling structures, and then
Mhm.
how many people we have to see. I think it's just creating a lot of burnout and a lot of like people aren't getting what they wanted out of it because you're not actually
Mhm.
getting to help the people like you wanted to. So I'm really trying to change that aspect and keep people in this profession that are suffering from that burnout, or hopefully before they even get to that point. So that would be more ideal
Yeah.
because you just want to keep them fresh and actually able to help people, because if they're fired up, then they're more likely to be able to change people's lives. If they're burnt
Mhm.
out, you're kind of just passing burnt out to other
Mhm.
people, and that's very apparent in the
The
PT
energy
world.
exchange is real.
Yeah, it's I
Absolutely.
believe in energy, and so like if you're just passing off burnt out energy to people, you're unloading energy when they don't even have the capability to take on more. So
Mhm.
that's my main. That's what really gets me fired up is just trying to move the profession in a good way.
Mhm.
Not that the other way is bad. It's just there needs to be some changes that move this world in a better way.
Well, you've got some great things going on, specifically with your clinic. I love the online thought chronic back pain. I'm so grateful that I've never experienced it, but knowing people in my life that have,
It's
it
brutal.
can destroy your soul. And back surgery is no joke ever. And oftentimes it helps momentarily, but then there's the progression that can often occur. And so it's a
Long
big
term
pros.
successes. Yeah.
Yeah, the big pros, yeah, pros versus cons all the time. So anything that you can do to alleviate or change the course of someone's health as far as that goes, and the ability to reach people online and have that massive impact, because with PT, thankfully it's more one-on-one, but to have the ability to potentially touch hundreds or thousands of people, that's amazing. So best of luck. I think that will be an amazing success, especially just seeing your drive and dedication. So, as you know, Soaring Solutions, my company, an AI company that helps health and wellness care providers with solutions. So we always ask, are you using AI now in any way, shape, or form in your business at this point?
Yes, some integration into the phone system, some integration that I use for marketing, but it needs to be more.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to change to a an EMR system that integrates a lot more AI into it because
Mm-hmm.
it's more time efficient and it's just better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that will be here soon in the next couple months, probably.
Nice.
So on those fronts, yes,
Mm-hmm.
but not like nothing fully integrated in yet.
And if you could just hand off a couple of tasks to AI at this point that are related to your business in any way, shape, or form, what would you love to just be able to take off your plate and have automated?
Um, so social media stuff could be
Mm-hmm.
a very nice thing to offload, as well as some of the admin staff or administrative stuff. So um, scheduling and like outreach stuff is
Mm-hmm.
kind of my biggest things that I are tedious tasks that
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't. It would make it me more productive.
Yeah, I think the most beautiful intersection of AI and healthcare is when it does help you with those tedious tasks, the repetitive things, helping systems talk to each other so that it can free up your time to do the most important task, which is the human connection. And literally with PT, it is actually physically connecting with someone. So that is a job that AI will never be able to take away from people. And the more you can free up on the back end, it just allows more time with patients. And obviously, your style of medicine is focused on that, anyways, moving away from that insurance based. So I can appreciate how that would just support you even more. Do you think, or do you know of in a way that AI like might play a role in either movement analysis or some sort of recovery optimization? Do you utilize that? Aware of that?
Yes, that I mean, all that stuff would be great.
Mhm.
I know there's definitely things you could do movement analysis wise, because the biggest thing would be to collect data and create patterns, and then apply those patterns to similar pain points that people typically get when they have those movement patterns.
Mhm.
All streamlining that stuff would be super effective for our evaluations. So we would have to do less, and we'd get more accurate data.
Mhm.
Um, and then recovery is always important. So looking at how well you recovered, sleep, stress levels, body fatigue levels, analyzing all those and allowing it to tell somebody, how hard they could go that day, with their workout or their plan, or it would just give us more data on how to frame or adjust people's schedules based off of all the other variables that can impact their ability to recover and how hard they can push themselves.
Mhm.
So I think those would be two great ways. I'm sure there's like a million ways you can integrate AI that I just don't even know about.
Well, it might already be out there, and if it's not today, it could be on Monday. Because that's how fast
So many things coming
things
out.
yeah, that's how fast things move in this world. It's both exciting and it can be a little bit overwhelming at times.
Yeah,
For
I could
sure.
only
Yeah,
imagine.
yeah. And that's coming from someone who's inside this world. But we don't have to know everything about everything all the time, for sure. So I think that you're doing some really amazing things at your clinic, and it's very exciting. And I'm sure your patients appreciate this level of care that you are able to give them. So often, when we as patients are going through a traditional system, we really are feeling just like a number. I'm sure that they appreciate that there's a different perspective there, and they're reaping the benefits of that. Um, Tell everyone, I'm going to put all of the information in the show notes so people can find you and reach out to you, but tell everyone the best way to find you. And then also, as far as your online brand, has that launched yet or is that still in the making?
I am pre-launching.
Okay. Okay.
I'm just starting the pre-launch. I'm doing all this stuff this week.
Oh,
So
you're right there.
yes, yeah. So I'm testing my offer, getting some traction on that, and then I'm going to build out everything. So everything should be done within a month and a half,
Okay. Okay.
full launch. Yeah. So we're called Corrective Physical Therapy. So the easiest way is correctivept.com. That's our website for the in-person one-on-one. We also do some virtual stuff, but it's mostly one-on-one treatment here. And then my personal brand is on Instagram. It's Dr. Matt Brown. It's Dr. period underscore Matt Brown. So all I talk about on there is back pain. So everything that goes into back pain, structural damage, exercises, what chronic pain means. So that's all it's focused on there. And that's the personal brand that I'll be building for this launch, which will be coming out hopefully this week.
Great. So if people start to follow you on Instagram, they'll be able to be following along and ready for when that launch happens then. Perfect.
And I already have my community set up in there, so there's a link to the community that I'll be establishing for the membership course. It's not built out yet, but it's all on there, so they can click on my link in the bio and follow along with all that stuff.
Great. Well, amazing, Matt. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time today. And anything, maybe, how about a little tip? Do you have some little great PT tip that you could give to, say, the average person who might be suffering from a lower back pain? And I know it's all very individualized, but is there something that kind of across the board a lot of people deal with?
Yeah. Generally, what people avoid is strengthening their back. So everyone tells them to strengthen their core and strengthen their glutes. That's probably widely known. But if you avoid your back,
Well, that's a great tip, and hopefully that will help a listener right off the bat. So thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Sometimes you have to go through a little bit of discomfort to get to the other side. And I imagine part of what you do is helping them to understand when it's just the discomfort of growth versus the pain of further injuring themselves. Yeah. Mhm. 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 Well, on that, yeah, on that great little tidbit, Matt, thank you so much. And like I said, all of your contact information will be in the show notes so people can reach out to you. We're excited to watch you on this journey. Thank you. Absolutely. Well deserved.